Captain Elena Zhao stood on the bridge of the Odyssey and watched the stars streak past the viewport. She had dreamed of this moment since she was a child. Humanity was finally joining the Galactic Union, a group of 47 different alien species that had kept peace for 3,000 years. "Captain, we're approaching the Gateway Station," her navigator said. Elena nodded. The Gateway Station was massive, larger than Earth's moon. Ships from dozens of worlds docked there every day. Some looked like crystals that floated through space. Others were perfect spheres covered in lights. The Odyssey looked plain next to them, just a gray cylinder with Earth's blue flag painted on the side. An alien voice crackled through the communications system. "Earth Vessel Odyssey, you are cleared to dock at Port 773. Welcome to the Union." The words made Elena smile. 50 years ago, the Union had discovered Earth. They had watched humanity from a distance, studying them like scientists studying animals in a zoo. The Union Council said humans were too violent, too emotional, too unpredictable. They needed time to grow up before joining the galactic community. Now that time was over. The docking process took an hour. When Elena finally walked into the station, she felt small. The corridor stretched up for what looked like miles. Aliens of every shape and size moved through the crowds. Some had 6 legs. Others floated in bubbles of water. A few looked almost human except for their purple skin or their 3 eyes. Ambassador Keiko Tanaka waited for her near the entrance. The older woman wore Earth's formal diplomatic uniform, black with gold trim. "Captain Zhao, welcome," Tanaka said. "How does it feel to be part of history?" "Overwhelming," Elena admitted. Tanaka laughed. "You'll get used to it. Come, the council wants to meet you." They walked through the station toward the council chambers. Along the way, Tanaka explained the Union's rules. The most important was the Treaty of Controlled Warfare. Every member species had signed it. "The treaty keeps war predictable," Tanaka said. "Ships must use energy shields. Weapons must be plasma-based. Before any battle, commanders must issue formal challenges. It's like a sport with very strict rules." "What if someone breaks the rules?" Elena asked. "No one does. The treaty has kept peace for millennia. Breaking it would mean chaos." The council chamber was a huge dome filled with floating platforms. Each platform held representatives from different worlds. The Zathari looked like birds made of metal. The Koran were massive creatures covered in rock-like armor. The Krythok had sharp teeth and cold, calculating eyes. The council leader, a Zathari named Silvar, spoke in a voice that sounded like music. "Captain Elena Zhao of Earth, your species has been granted provisional membership in the Union. You will receive a defensive fleet of 12 vessels built to Union standards. Your territory has been registered. Welcome." Elena bowed. "Earth is honored." "However," Silvar continued, "we must be clear. Your species has a concerning history of warfare. Your people fight without honor. You use tricks and deception. This behavior is not acceptable in the Union. You must follow our ways." The words stung, but Elena kept her face calm. "We understand." After the ceremony, Elena met with Admiral Marcus Chen via secure communication. Chen was back on Earth, in charge of humanity's military development. His face appeared on her tablet screen, and he looked troubled. "I watched the whole thing," Chen said. "They're treating us like children." "They're being cautious," Elena said. "They're being arrogant. I've been studying their warfare tactics, Elena. They haven't changed their methods in 1,000 years. Every battle follows the same pattern. Ships line up. They fire plasma at each other's shields. Whoever runs out of power first loses. It's like a ritual, not a war." Elena lowered her voice, even though she was alone in her quarters. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that if someone attacked us with real tactics, the Union wouldn't know how to respond. They've forgotten what actual war looks like." "Marcus, we can't—" "I'm not suggesting anything against the treaty," Chen interrupted. I'm just saying we should be prepared, just in case. 2 weeks later, tensions in the Union began to rise. The Krithok Dominion started expanding their territory. They followed every rule in the treaty, but they found loopholes. They would challenge small colonies that couldn't defend themselves. They would blockade trade routes legally, but aggressively. The Union Council called meetings. They debated and discussed, but they couldn't stop the Krithok, because technically, the Krithok weren't breaking any laws. Elena attended one of these meetings. She watched as the council argued for hours about treaty interpretations and diplomatic protocols. The Krithok representative smiled the whole time, showing all his sharp teeth. After the meeting, a Union inspector approached Elena. He was a Koran named Thrak, built like a walking boulder. "Captain Zhao, I must warn you," Thrak said. "I have heard rumors that Earth is building ships in secret, ships that do not follow Union designs." Elena's heart raced, but she kept her expression neutral. "I don't know what you mean." "Do not let your species make a mistake," Thrak said. "Creative interpretations of military law are dangerous. The treaty exists for a reason. If Earth tries to be clever, there will be consequences." That night, Elena sent an encrypted message to Admiral Chen. "They're watching us." His reply came back hours later. "Let them watch. We're not breaking any rules, not yet." Far away from the gateway station, beyond the edges of explored space, construction continued in secret. In the dark of the Kuiper Belt, where Earth's sun was just another distant star, something new was being born. The workers called it the Revenant. It looked nothing like a Union warship. It had no elegant curves or glowing shields. It was dark, angular, and covered in weapons that the galaxy had never seen before. Admiral Chen watched its progress through live feeds. He knew the Union wouldn't understand what they were building. They couldn't. Their warfare was predictable, civilized, controlled. They had forgotten that sometimes survival required something else entirely. They had forgotten that humans knew how to fight. 6 months after humanity joined the Galactic Union, Admiral Marcus Chen stood in the observation deck of a hidden construction facility. The station floated in the Kuiper Belt, far beyond Neptune, where no Union inspector would think to look. Outside the reinforced windows, the Revenant hung in space like a sleeping predator. "She's beautiful," Dr. Amara Okonkwo said beside him. Chen nodded. Amara was Earth's leading weapons scientist, the brilliant mind behind most of the Revenant systems. To him, the ship looked deadly rather than beautiful, but he understood what she meant. The Revenant was different from any Union warship. Where Union ships were smooth and bright, the Revenant was angular and dark. Its hull was covered in black ablative armor that could burn away under weapons fire, protecting the ship beneath. Instead of energy shields that glowed and announced your position, the Revenant used electronic countermeasures and stealth technology. "Run through the weapon systems again," Chen said. Amara pulled up a holographic display. "No plasma weapons. We're using kinetic guns instead. Solid projectiles accelerated to a fraction of light speed. The Union designs their shields to stop energy weapons. They've never considered that someone might just throw a big piece of metal at them really, really fast." "And the AI system?" "That's the real advantage. Union warfare is predictable because their commanders think predictably. They follow honor codes and traditional tactics. Our AI can calculate thousands of tactical options per second. It can suggest moves that no Union commander would ever consider." Chen smiled. "Because those moves wouldn't be honorable." "Exactly. We also added railguns for close combat, missile pods that can launch from unexpected angles, and a faster-than-light drive that uses gravitational shortcuts instead of their jump gates. We can arrive places they don't expect when they don't expect." A younger officer approached them. "Admiral, we just received word. The Krithok Dominion has attacked the colony world Elysium Prime." Chen's smile disappeared. "Elysium is human territory." "Yes, sir." 8,000 colonists, mostly families. The Union fleet is 6 days away. Our standard defensive ships are with Captain Zhao at Gateway Station, 4 days away. Chen looked at the Revenant. How fast can we get there? Amara checked her calculations. 8 hours if we push the new drive system. But sir, this ship hasn't finished trials. We haven't tested all the weapons in real combat, and the Union doesn't know it exists. They're going to know soon enough, Chen said. He turned to the communications officer. Get me Captain Zhao. Tell her she has a new ship to command. Elena Zhao received the message while docked at Gateway Station. The orders were simple and encrypted. Report to coordinates in the Kuiper Belt immediately. Tell no one. When she arrived at the hidden facility and saw the Revenant for the first time, she understood why secrecy had been necessary. Admiral, this ship breaks every Union convention, she said. But does it break any Union law? Chen asked. Elena thought carefully. No. The treaty specifies weapons types, but only energy weapons. It requires defensive systems, but it doesn't say they must be shields. It mandates tactical protocols, but only for formal challenges. Exactly. We followed the letter of every law. We just ignored 3,000 years of tradition. The Council won't see it that way. The Council isn't watching 8,000 humans die on Elysium Prime, Chen said quietly. You are. What's your decision, Captain? Elena looked at the Revenant. It was a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had seen in millennia. Using it would change everything, but not using it would mean abandoning those colonists to a slow death. I'll take her, Elena said. The crew transfer happened quickly. Elena's officers were confused but loyal. When they boarded the Revenant and saw the alien interior, filled with Earth technology instead of Union standards, some of them looked worried. I know this is unusual, Elena told them from the captain's chair. I know it's not what we trained for, but right now our people are dying. This ship can save them. I need you to trust me. Her first officer, Commander James Park, spoke up. We trust you, Captain. What are your orders? Plot a course to Elysium Prime. Maximum speed. The journey took 8 hours. During that time, Elena studied the Krythok fleet composition. 5 heavy cruisers, all built to Union standards. They were bombarding Elysium Prime's defensive satellites slowly, following the proper protocols. They had issued a formal surrender demand. When it was refused, they had begun a methodical siege. They're in no hurry, Commander Park observed. They know Union reinforcements are days away. They don't know about us, Elena said. When the Revenant dropped out of faster-than-light travel, it appeared on the edge of the Elysium system without warning. Union ships had to use jump gates that announced their arrival. The Revenant simply appeared, its stealth systems hiding it from the Krythok sensors. Captain, the Krythok fleet is hailing us, the communications officer said. They're demanding we identify ourselves and await formal challenge protocols. Elena smiled coldly. Ignore them. Target their flagship. Fire kinetic rounds. The Revenant's railguns spoke. Solid tungsten projectiles, each weighing several tons, accelerated to 30% of light speed. They crossed the distance in seconds. The Krythok flagship's shields were designed to disperse plasma energy. The kinetic rounds simply punched through them like they weren't there. The flagship broke apart in a silent explosion. Targets 2 and 3, fire missiles, Elena ordered. Missile pods opened along the Revenant's hull. Dozens of smart missiles launched, each one taking a different trajectory. The Krythok ships tried to target them with point defense, but there were too many coming from too many angles. 2 more Krythok cruisers died. The remaining ships are trying to flee, Park reported. Don't let them. We need to send a message. The Revenant hunted down the last 2 Krythok ships. It used tactics that hadn't been seen in galactic warfare for thousands of years. It attacked from multiple directions. It used the planet's gravity to slingshot around for surprise strikes. It fired and moved before the enemy could respond. In 17 minutes, the battle was over. All 5 Krythok cruisers were destroyed. The Revenant hadn't taken a single hit. On the surface of Elysium Prime, the colonists watched the debris fall from orbit like shooting stars. They didn't know what had happened up there. They just knew they were alive. Elena sat in her captain's chair, breathing hard. Around her, the bridge crew was silent, processing what they had just done. "Send a message to Admiral Chen," Elena said. "Mission successful. Elysium Prime is secure." "Captain," the communications officer said nervously, "we're receiving thousands of signals from across the Union. Everyone saw what just happened. The Gateway Station is demanding we report immediately. The Council has called an emergency session." Elena nodded slowly. The secret was out. The galaxy had just witnessed something it thought impossible. A battle won quickly, decisively, without following any of the traditional rules. "Set course for Gateway Station," Elena said. "Let's go explain ourselves." The council chamber was in chaos. Ambassador Keiko Tanaka stood at the human platform, surrounded by angry alien representatives shouting in dozens of languages. The translation system struggled to keep up. "They attacked without honor," the Krythok representative roared. His name was Vortek, and his face was twisted with rage. "They gave no formal challenge. They used forbidden weapons." "What weapons were forbidden?" Tanaka asked calmly. "Kinetic weapons, physical projectiles. No civilized species has used such barbaric methods in 3,000 years. Tanaka pulled up the Treaty of Controlled Warfare on her display. "Show me where the treaty prohibits kinetic weapons. I've read it 17 times. The treaty only regulates energy weapons." The chamber went quiet for a moment. Council leader Silvar, the Zathari who looked like a metal bird, spoke carefully. "Ambassador Tanaka, the treaty was written for energy weapons because that is what warfare means. Kinetic weapons are primitive, unpredictable, dangerous." "But not illegal," Tanaka said. "You violated the spirit of the law," a Korun representative shouted. "The spirit?" Tanaka's voice grew harder. "My species learned a long time ago that the spirit of the law doesn't protect people. Only the actual words matter. You wrote a treaty for the warfare, you know. We simply fought a different way." A Zathari military commander named Kesva stepped forward. The human ship, this Revenant, used no energy shields. It appeared without using jump gates. It struck from multiple angles without issuing challenges. This is not warfare, this is assassination. "It's effective," Tanaka said. 8,000 human colonists are alive because of it. "And 5 Krythok ships are destroyed," Vortex snarled. "In 17 minutes. That is impossible." "Apparently not," Tanaka said quietly. The argument continued for hours. Some species were terrified. The Zathari, who had maintained galactic peace for millennia, worried about the collapse of order. Others were curious. Younger species sent private messages to Tanaka, asking questions about human tactics and technology. The elder races were horrified. They had built their entire civilization on predictable, controlled warfare. The idea that someone could win a battle in minutes rather than days or weeks was incomprehensible to them. Finally, Silvar called for order. "We will examine the human vessel directly. Captain Zhao will demonstrate her ship's capabilities against our finest warship. If the Revenant truly broke no laws, it will pass this test under Union observation." 3 days later, the demonstration was held in an empty sector of space. Hundreds of Union ships gathered to watch. The Revenant faced the Eternal Vigilance, a Zathari dreadnought that had never lost a battle in 500 years. Its commander, Admiral Trelka, was a legend. Captain Elena Zhao sat in her command chair, watching the massive dreadnought on her view screen. It was 10 times the Revenant's size, covered in gleaming armor and powerful shields. "They're hailing us, Captain," her communications officer said. Trelka's face appeared on the screen. He looked confident. "Captain Zhao, I hope you understand this is not personal." The Council must see that traditional methods remain superior. Your victory over the Krythok was luck and surprise. Against a prepared opponent, your tactics will fail. Maybe, Elena said. Shall we find out? I will give you the honor of the first strike. Elena smiled. Admiral, I appreciate the gesture, but we don't wait for permission. She cut the connection. All weapons fire. The Revenant's railguns and missile pods activated simultaneously. Kinetic rounds and smart missiles filled the space between the two ships. But the Revenant didn't wait to see the results. It was already moving, its engines pushing it into a spiral pattern that made targeting difficult. The Eternal Vigilance's shields absorbed the first wave of attacks. Trelka's crew responded with plasma cannons, firing at where the Revenant had been. But the human ship was no longer there. Electronic warfare active, Elena's tactical officer reported. Their targeting systems are confused. They're firing at phantom images. The Revenant circled the dreadnought like a shark circling prey. It fired from one angle, then immediately moved to another. The AI system calculated firing solutions faster than any organic mind could. Every shot was precisely aimed at the dreadnought's shield generators. Their forward shields are down, the tactical officer said. Fire kinetic penetrators. Tungsten rods slammed into the dreadnought's hull. They didn't need to explode. At the speeds they were traveling, their kinetic energy was enough to punch through armor like paper. Critical systems inside the ship failed. Trelka tried to adapt. He ordered his ship to rotate, bringing fresh shields to bear. But the Revenant predicted the move and was already repositioning. Missile barrage! Pattern Delta! Elena ordered. This time, the missiles didn't aim for the dreadnought. They exploded around it, creating a cloud of metallic chaff that disrupted sensors. In the confusion, the Revenant closed to point-blank range and fired its railguns directly into the dreadnought's engine section. On the Eternal Vigilance's bridge, alarms screamed. The simulation system declared them destroyed. The battle had lasted 4 minutes. The watching Union fleet sat in stunned silence. The greatest warship in Zathari history had been defeated faster than most Union battles even began. Elena opened a channel to Trelka. The Admiral looked shocked. How? He asked simply. You fought with honor, Elena said gently. You followed every rule you knew. But Admiral, we come from a world where warfare isn't honorable. It's survival. We learned to fight in ways that would seem barbaric to you. Not because we're cruel, but because sometimes you need to be unpredictable to stay alive. That night, the council met in closed session. Ambassador Tanaka was not invited, but she knew what they were discussing. Fear. The Union had maintained peace by making warfare predictable and controllable. Humans had proven that predictability was a weakness. The next morning, Silvar addressed the council publicly. The human vessel Revenant has demonstrated capabilities that threaten the foundation of our peace. While it technically violated no written laws, it violated every principle we hold dear. Therefore, we are proposing new amendments to the Treaty of Controlled Warfare. The amendments were extensive. Ban on AI-assisted combat systems. Ban on kinetic weapons above certain velocities. Mandatory energy shield usage. Prohibition of stealth warfare. Prohibition of surprise attacks. Every tactic the Revenant had used would become illegal. These will be called the Zhao Protocols, Silvar announced, in memory of the necessity of controlling dangerous innovations. Tanaka stood. And if Earth refuses to sign? The chamber went silent. Finally, Silvar spoke. Then Earth will be expelled from the Union. You will be alone in the galaxy. Tanaka looked at the faces around her. Some showed sympathy, others showed fear, many showed anger. She realized that the Union wasn't trying to punish humanity. They were trying to survive. They had built a civilization on controlled warfare, and humans threatened to destroy that control. "I will present your terms to Earth," Tanaka said quietly. "But understand this. You're not banning our weapons. You're banning the way we think. And that's much harder to control than you realize." The vote on the Zhao protocols took place 1 week later. 39 species voted yes. 8 abstained. Only humanity voted no. The amendments became law immediately. On Earth, the government buildings in Geneva were surrounded by protesters. Some carried signs supporting compliance with Union law. Others demanded that Earth stand firm. The World Council was divided down the middle. "We have no choice," Prime Minister Sarah Chen argued. "If we're expelled from the Union, we'll be isolated. No trade, no technology sharing. No protection if we're attacked. We'll also be slaves to their rules," General Rodriguez countered. "They're not just banning our weapons. They're banning our way of thinking. What happens the next time we innovate? Do they ban that too?" Admiral Marcus Chen sat quietly, listening to the debate. Finally, he spoke. "We comply." The room fell silent. Everyone knew Chen had designed the Revenant. Hearing him advocate for compliance was shocking. "Marcus," General Rodriguez said, "you can't be serious." "I'm completely serious. We signed the Zhao protocols. We decommissioned the Revenant and the other Ghost Protocol ships. We follow every rule they set." "But publicly," Chen added with a slight smile, "we comply publicly. But we save the designs. We preserve the technology. We train our people in the tactics, even if we can't use them. And we wait." Prime Minister Chen understood. "You think this won't last?" "I think the Union is making a mistake," Admiral Chen said. "They're banning unpredictability, but the universe is unpredictable. Sooner or later, they'll face a threat that their rules can't handle. When that happens, they'll remember us." The vote was made. Earth would comply with the Zhao protocols. Captain Elena Zhao received the order while aboard the Revenant. She read it twice, then addressed her crew. "We're being ordered to return to Earth. The Revenant is to be decommissioned. We'll be reassigned to Union standard vessels." The crew reacted with anger and frustration. Commander Park spoke for all of them. "Captain, this is wrong. We saved Elysium Prime. We proved our worth." "We also terrified the galaxy," Elena said quietly. "They're not punishing us out of cruelty. They're afraid. And maybe they have a right to be. We showed them that their 3,000 years of stability is an illusion. So we just give up?" Elena looked at her crew. These were good people who had trusted her into the unknown. "No. We follow orders, but we remember. Technology can be banned. Knowledge can't be erased. We'll carry what we learned with us." But Elena Zhao had never been good at following orders she disagreed with. That night, she made a decision that would change her life. Instead of returning to Earth, the Revenant jumped away from Union space. Elena sent a message to Admiral Chen first. "I'm going dark. The ship is too important to destroy. I won't use it against the Union, but I won't hand it over either. Consider this my resignation." Chen's response came back hours later. "Resignation officially accepted. You're now a rogue element. Earth cannot support you. Good luck, Captain." The last part of his message was encrypted with a code only Elena would understand. "Thank you for preserving our future." The Revenant disappeared into the border regions of space, areas where Union patrols rarely went. Elena and her crew became ghosts, helping colonies in trouble, protecting ships from pirates, always vanishing before Union forces arrived. On Earth, the other Ghost Protocol ships were publicly dismantled. News cameras recorded every moment. The hulls were cut apart. The weapons systems were destroyed. The Union inspectors watched carefully, nodding with satisfaction. What they didn't see were the data cores being quietly transferred to secure facilities, the blueprints, the tactical manuals, the AI programming. Everything that made the Revenant dangerous was preserved in digital form, hidden in locations across human space. Young officers in Earth's military academies began receiving special training. It was called Alternative Tactical Studies, and officially it was just historical education about ancient Earth warfare. The students learned about guerrilla tactics, asymmetric warfare, and unconventional thinking. The Union noticed none of this. They were satisfied that humanity had been brought under control. Meanwhile, in the dark spaces between stars, something else was happening. Long-range sensors at the edge of Union territory began detecting strange readings. Ships that appeared and disappeared, energy signatures that matched no known technology. A science station in the outer reaches sent a distress call. Then nothing. When a Union patrol arrived 3 days later, they found the station destroyed, not damaged in battle but torn apart, as if something had simply ripped it open. The patrol commander, a Zathari named Kilvan, examined the debris. There are no weapon signatures, no plasma burns. What could do this? His science officer pointed to claw marks on the hull. Something physical, Commander, something that ignored the station's shields completely. More reports came in over the following weeks. Ships disappearing, colonies going silent, always on the far edges of Union space, where patrols were light and help was far away. The Council initially dismissed the reports as accidents or equipment failures, but the pattern was undeniable. Something was out there. Something that didn't fight like the Union expected. In his office on Earth, Admiral Chen reviewed the reports with growing concern. He pulled up tactical analyses of the attacks. Whatever was out there used no energy weapons. It struck without warning. It overwhelmed defenses through sheer aggression. They fight like us, he said to himself. No, worse than us. He sent an encrypted message to a relay station that he knew would forward it to the Revenant. Captain Zhao, we may have a problem. Someone else just showed the galaxy how ineffective their rules are. Stay alert. On the Revenant's bridge, Elena received the message. She looked at the star charts showing the locations of the attacks. A pattern was emerging. Whatever this threat was, it was moving deeper into Union space. Commander Park, how long until they reach core worlds? She asked. Park ran the calculations. If they maintain current speed and direction, 6 months. Maybe less. Elena stared at the map. The Union had banned human warfare tactics because they were too dangerous. Now something worse was coming. Something that wouldn't care about the Zhao protocols or the Treaty of Controlled Warfare. The Union isn't ready for this, she said. Should we warn them? Elena considered. She was a fugitive. The Council had forced her into exile. Why should she help them? But then she thought about the 8,000 colonists on Elysium Prime. The families who were alive because the Revenant had broken the rules. This wasn't about the Council. It was about billions of innocent people across the galaxy who would die if no one stopped what was coming. Not yet, Elena said. First, we need to understand what we're facing. Plot a course to the last attack site. We're going hunting. The Revenant turned toward the darkness at the edge of known space. Its crew knew they were heading into danger, but they also knew they might be the only ones capable of understanding this new threat. Because sometimes to fight a monster, you needed to think like one. The creatures came from beyond the galactic rim, from the darkness between galaxies where no light reached. The Union called them devourers. They didn't communicate. They didn't negotiate. They simply consumed everything in their path. The first core world to fall was Zathari Prime, the capital of the species that had led the Union for 3,000 years. 20 Union battleships defended it, following traditional formations and tactics. They issued formal challenges. They fired plasma weapons at the approaching swarm. The Devourers ignored all of it. Their ships were biological, grown rather than built. They had no shields because they didn't need them. Their hulls regenerated damage faster than weapons could inflict it. They swarmed the Union fleet like insects, ripping ships apart with claws and acid sprays. Zathari Prime fell in 6 hours. 3 billion lives lost. The galaxy panicked. Union fleets mobilized, but every engagement ended the same way. Traditional tactics were useless. The Devourers used overwhelming numbers, attacked from every direction simultaneously, and showed no pattern or predictability. In the council chamber, the mood was despair. Council leader Silvar looked older, his metallic feathers dulled with stress. 23 worlds have fallen, he announced. Our casualties exceed 50 billion. Every fleet we send is destroyed. The Devourers will reach the core systems within 2 weeks. We need new tactics, a young Koran representative suggested. What tactics? Vortek, the Krythok, asked bitterly. We spent 3,000 years perfecting our methods. The Devourers ignore all of them. We are watching our entire civilization collapse. Ambassador Keiko Tanaka stood slowly. There is one option you haven't considered. The chamber turned to look at her. Silvar's voice was cold. If you're suggesting we abandon the Zhao protocols, I'm suggesting you want to survive, Tanaka interrupted. The protocols were created to stop humanity from changing your warfare. But now you need exactly what you banned. Unpredictability, adaptation, unconventional tactics. You mean we should fight like barbarians? Vortex spat. I mean you should fight to win, Tanaka said. The Devourers don't care about honor or tradition. They fight like predators. To beat them, you need to think like predators too. Silvar was silent for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. What are you proposing? Find Captain Elena Zhao. Give her a full pardon. Give her resources to build more ships like the Revenant, and give her complete tactical control. No council oversight. No traditional doctrine. Let her teach your people how to fight the way humans fight. The chamber erupted in argument, but Silvar raised a wing for silence. If we do this, if we abandon everything we've built, what guarantee do we have it will work? Tanaka met his eyes. None. But I can guarantee that what you're doing now will lead to extinction. At least this gives you a chance. 3 days later, a small Union shuttle arrived at the coordinates where the Revenant was last seen. It broadcast on all frequencies. Captain Zhao, this is Ambassador Tanaka. The Council requests your presence. It's urgent. On the Revenant's bridge, Elena stared at the message. She had spent months investigating the Devourers, watching them destroy Union fleets. She knew what was coming. It's a trap, Commander Park said. Maybe, Elena agreed. Or maybe they're desperate enough to admit they were wrong. She opened a channel. Ambassador, I'm listening. Tanaka's face appeared on the screen. Elena, the Union is dying. We need you. Full pardon for you and your crew. Complete tactical authority. Resources to build a new fleet. Whatever you need. And after the crisis, will you ban my methods again? Tanaka smiled sadly. If we survive the crisis, the Union won't be the same anyway. We'll have to change or die. You proved that. Elena looked at her crew. They nodded. All right, send me the coordinates. We're coming in. The meeting took place on Gateway Station. Council leader Silvar stood before Elena, and she could see the weight of billions of deaths in his eyes. Captain Zhao, I owe you an apology. We were so focused on controlling warfare that we forgot its purpose. War isn't about honor or tradition. It's about survival. We've forgotten how to survive. Then let me teach you, Elena said. The construction began immediately. Earth's hidden Ghost Protocol data was transmitted across the galaxy. Shipyards that had built traditional Union vessels were retooled. Within weeks, the first new ships emerged. They looked like hybrids, combining Union technology with human tactics. But the ships were only part of the solution. Elena knew the real challenge was changing how people thought. She stood before a room full of Union military commanders. These were veterans who had fought for centuries using traditional methods. Now they had to learn everything new. "Forget everything you know about honor," Elena told them. "Forget fair challenges and predictable formations. The Devourers don't fight fair. Neither can you." She taught them about ambush tactics, about hitting the enemy where they were weak instead of meeting them in direct combat, about using terrain and surprise, about adaptability. Many of the older commanders struggled. Their entire identity was built on traditional warfare. But the younger ones learned quickly, especially those from species that had joined the Union recently. A Zathari pilot named Kessa proved particularly talented. She had lost her family when Zathari Prime fell. Now she flew one of the new hybrid fighters with cold fury. "I never understood why you fought the way you did," she told Elena. "It seemed chaotic, but now I see. Chaos is a weapon when your enemy expects order." The first battle of the new fleet took place at the Nexus Gate, a strategic position that controlled access to a dozen core worlds. If the Devourers took it, the inner Union would be defenseless. Elena commanded from the Revenant. Around her were 50 hybrid warships and 200 fighters. Facing them was a Devourer swarm numbering in the thousands. "All ships, remember your training," Elena broadcast. "Don't meet them head-on. Hit and run, draw them out, make them chase you into kill zones. Use their aggression against them." The battle began not with formal challenges, but with ambush. Human-designed missiles launched from hidden positions, striking the Devourer swarm from unexpected angles. When the creatures turned to pursue, they found only empty space. The Union forces split into small groups, each operating independently. They attacked, retreated, and attacked again from different directions. The Devourers, used to overwhelming static defenses, found themselves confused by enemies that refused to stand and fight. "Their command structure is reacting slowly," the Revenant's tactical AI reported. "They expect predictable responses." "Then let's be unpredictable," Elena said. "All fighters, pattern Omega." Kessa led her squadron in a maneuver that would have been considered cowardly by old Union standards. They pretended to flee in panic, drawing a large group of Devourers into a narrow space between two asteroids. Once the creatures were committed, capital ships appeared on both sides and opened fire with kinetic weapons at point-blank range. The trap destroyed hundreds of Devourer ships. The battle lasted for 8 hours. It was brutal and chaotic, but when it ended, the Nexus Gate remained in Union control. The Devourer swarm retreated for the first time since the invasion began. On the Revenant's bridge, the crew was exhausted but alive. They had taken damage, lost ships, but they had won. Council Leader Silvar's face appeared on the communications screen. His metallic feathers seemed brighter somehow. "Captain Zhao, on behalf of the Union, thank you." "Don't thank me yet," Elena said. "We won this battle, but the war isn't over. The Devourers will adapt, just like we did. We'll need to keep changing, keep learning." "Then you'll teach us," Silvar said. "The Council has voted to permanently repeal the Zhao Protocols. We're also offering you a position on the Military Council. It seems we need someone who understands that rules aren't the same as wisdom." Over the following months, the war continued. The Union learned to fight in new ways. They combined their advanced technology with human tactical innovation. Mixed species crews learned to think creatively, to adapt, to survive. The Devourers were eventually driven back beyond the galactic rim. It took time and cost millions of lives, but the Union survived. 1 year after the crisis began, Elena stood in the Museum of Unity on Gateway Station. Behind her, preserved in a massive display, was the Revenant. The ship that had terrified the galaxy had become a symbol of salvation. A plaque beneath it read, "The Revenant, proof that survival requires both rules and the wisdom to break them. Young cadets from dozens of species came to study it. They learned about kinetic weapons and stealth tactics. But more importantly, they learned about thinking differently. Elena watched a group of Zathari students examining the ship's weapon systems. Kessa, now an instructor, was explaining human tactical philosophy. "My people believed warfare should be predictable," Kessa told them. "We thought that made it civilized. But Captain Zhao taught us that the universe is unpredictable. Trying to control it with rules is like trying to hold water in your hands. Sometimes you need to accept the chaos and learn to swim." Admiral Marcus Chen stood beside Elena, visiting from Earth. "You changed the galaxy." "We changed it together," Elena corrected. "You built the ship. Tanaka fought for us politically. The Union crews learned to think differently. It wasn't just humans. It was everyone working together." "Still, they'll remember you." Elena smiled. "I hope they remember the lesson instead. That the greatest threat isn't chaos or change. It's refusing to adapt. The Union survived because they finally accepted that perfection isn't about having all the answers. It's about being willing to learn new questions." As they walked out of the museum, Elena looked up at the stars visible through the station's dome. Somewhere out there, beyond the light, were more unknowns, more threats, more challenges. But now the galaxy was ready, not because they had better weapons or stronger ships, but because they had learned the most human lesson of all. Survival belongs to those who adapt.